Friends, good afternoon to all, and today we will start drawing the second work from the fruit cycle, from the fruit block of works. You know, this job, I'll tell you right away, it's a little more complicated. Here you need to think more about the composition. If we had one subject then, now we have as many as 3 subjects. I'm doing it now. First I made a light pencil sketch of the pears, and now I started tracing them a little brighter. You will see it all now. I do it by eye. I distribute 3 pears so that approximately the same distance to the right and left, we have the same distance to the right. To the right edge of the leaf. To the left edge of the leaf. From the pear to the left edge of the leaf is approximately the same distance. Also, the top and bottom are about the same distance. Well, I do a little more on top. I leave a distance so that I still have these sticks 4 pears. Well, that's the most important thing. We have 3 items. Yes, let's call them that. 3 items, 3 fruits, and in general, they are the same fruits. Yes, they are all 3 pears. And here is where the main task of the draftsman is to make them different. That is, they should not be 1 in 1. These pears are similar to each other, but they should be at least all 3 pears. They should be in relief. They should be somewhere one more inclined to the right, the other more inclined to the left, where then one is wider, a little wider on top than the other, and so on. In fact, somehow it seems to sound obvious, but as a rule, I judge by my students. As a rule, it is not so easy to do. And for some reason, real novice draftsmen have such a problem that they want to comb everything under one comb. I'm looking from the side now. In fact, I would probably make them more prominent. Well, I made them like this. I tried to convey it. That is, they are naturally a photograph. It's not some kind of cartoon picture like this, and they should be smooth, like, well, in general relief. So, I made a picture, drew, circled, drew sticks, twigs from them. Everything is the same with the twigs. They should also be as different as possible. One in one direction, another, one to the right, another to the left, the third forward. The more randomness, the better. And now you know, in an already extended shoot, I'm going to talk about hatching. Friends, in this video, I want to tell you a little bit more about hatching. How we stroke and shade some part of this work in detail with you. Not in an accelerated format. So, well, first of all, as I said, hatching should be hatching. It should be a stroke. Right here is the stroke that you have to breathe. That is, these stripes should be visible. At least we always have 2 shading on the subject. What is 2 shading? That is, here we take a plane, stroke 1 row, then stroke another row from above at least. But as a rule, it is in very light, on light planes. On dark planes, of course, there may be more about hatching. We put it on top. The darker we need to make, well, the subject, the more about hatching we should have. But it's not always just more about hatching, but definitely not 2, and also a darkened object, by simply taking a pencil softer. What are the stroke directions? You know the most any. Here can be such a direction 2 shading, maybe here are 2 shading. You know, if you are a beginner draftsman, I would not recommend doing this about hatching. That is, here is such a lattice, where there is a square. We should have a diamond all the time. Well, preferably a diamond. There may be such a shading. The direction of the stroke I'm showing now. This is the direction of the stroke. Maybe this is the direction of the stroke. On flat planes, we have smooth hatching on uneven planes. Here on our pears, we will have hatching bend in different ways here. That is, if some irregularities need to be shown, then there may be hatching. It can bend. So bend, so bend. We will definitely have a gypsum course where there will be flat planes, and there I will show how smooth hatching lies on flat planes. The stroke should be smooth on even planes. Here with us, we can already take a less careful approach to hatching. That's when we draw pears or some curved objects. It's not so visible if there is some kind of, that is, on a white plaster, for example, we draw a cube. It should be there like this, I would say, an impeccable hatching. And here, we have a stroke can somehow change. Maybe somehow, even if we do something wrong somewhere, then well, it won't be so noticeable, because here, as you can see, pears have different dark spots and light spots. And here it is all relief, uneven. Here, I'll slowly start hatching the pear in this way. I slowly began to stroke the pear. Well, here carefully just now observe the direction of the stroke that I have. I'm trying to convey it in form. Right now I'm stroking from top to bottom, trying to emphasize this shape a little, bending the stroke in the direction in which I need it. That is, to the bottom. If the pear stroke has a slightly rounded shape, then at the bottom, I also have a rounded shape. But remember, yes, there are at least two directions. That is, if I stroke from top to bottom, the stroke is even, yes, vertical is more, then I need to apply another stroke in contrast to it. But here I have, of course, not two shading. Here it's more about hatching. I show the shape with a stroke, and at the same time I show I'm already trying to look in advance where it's lighter for me, where it's darker, and in advance I lay these tones here. This is still, of course, not the final option. This is now some kind of substrate, basically. That is, I'm going to start shading once now. Some, Rysavachki here at this stage, they just take in, as it were, well, in the drawing, they just take the substrate and shade objects with a monotone, saying that, well, then we will still darken somewhere. Somewhere we will work with a nag. No, from the very beginning try to make the contrast that you need. In other words, start with dark places, with dark areas to stroke, and so that the dark places are immediately dark. And then we are just this initial stage, your initial substrate, so to speak, we are only strengthening it. Let me remind you, pears are quite colorful, and somewhere they have, as if imagine that you are sculpting from plasticine, somewhere there is some kind of dent. This particular kind of pear, they are not very smooth, so to speak. And I, accordingly, try to show all these irregularities with hatching. I have now started to apply the next layer of hatching on my own, so to speak, substrate, and continue to darken it. I notice that on the top right, where I'm shading now, it's darker there. On the edges on the left it's also darker. At the bottom, respectively, it's also darker. From above somewhere, the pear has a fracture, from a smaller to a larger volume, which also darkens a little. And so, gradually, I begin to shape the shape with my hatching. Please note, friends, that I put a leaf under the right drawing hand. A piece of paper is an ordinary printer's thin paper, a 4 folded twice. You know, we always do this in class because it's not that you get your hand dirty. Yes, of course, everyone who drew, and then he will look. If he looks at the back of his right hand without putting a sheet, he will see that our hand has become black all over, but we can wash our hand easily, but we will not wash the work anymore. If you stroke, that's how I stroke. Hold the pencil like I hold the pencil. By the way, many people disagree with this. Many people think that the pencil needs to be held differently, but I've been drawing like this all my life. No teacher has tried to eradicate it somehow, although many hold a pencil differently. But it is precisely this kind of capture of a pencil in a drawing that is fraught with the fact that if we do not put a sheet under our hand, then we dirty our work, we lull it. That's just the same hand, moving back and forth, will work very dirty. I keep picking up the tone, continuing to darken the dark places. You know, I am now hatching with pencil B, and up to this point, all this time I had pencil B in my hands. Then at the end, I will take pencil 6B, and I will already shade the darkest places with it. You know, the places where we have the lightest pair, I also stroke them, but here I know in advance that I will further refine later. I will draw with a nag and an eraser. I will refine the relief of my pairs with a nag and an eraser. In the meantime, I continue to type the background and try to show as much relief as possible, to find as many flaws as possible. Again I say, this is probably one of the most important problems of novice draftsmen, what they want to smooth out, so to speak. But try to pull yourself together, try the opposite, do exactly the opposite, enhance the relief. And here too is for the tone, it is never superfluous. You know, it's never superfluous. In the opposite direction, it rarely works that you somehow make the relief too much. On the contrary, the more irregularities, depressions in the bulges and bulges, so to speak, on your pair, the more lively it will look, the more relief it will look. So, I still have pencil B now, and I'm trying to find dark places, dark in the shadows. Look carefully at these pairs. I have it in different directions, but every way you know, it tries to fit in shape. I started to stroke the sticks. We can also cover them first with the same pencil. Now notice, I have dark places somewhere, light places somewhere, but I still stroke with the same pencil. I have a sharpened pencil B, and just now, as you have seen, I am changing the pencil. I changed it, and then now I'll tell you what kind of pencil I have. And I still have a Bet pencil, and I took a 6B pencil for a short time, shaded the darkest places, then changed it back to a B pencil. But here I of course adjust. It's not necessarily that you have to do that. I adjust the pressure. This adjustment is very strong enough. You know, sometimes I'm just too lazy to take another pencil. It's easier for me to balance it somewhere with the pressure of the pencil. Somewhere a little less I press, Somewhere a little more I press. Somewhere I press straight with a pencil B with all my might. But you know, all the same, until the end, even pressing into the very, very power of this pencil, we will not gain the tone that we ultimately need in the very depths. For example, if you look under the pears, you look at these twigs, they are almost black. That is, I'm still going to take a pencil B, not B in this work, but I have there, you know, to be honest, right now I forgot whether it's 6B or 8B, but in my opinion, I still have a pencil 6B second. Here it is already here. I immediately feel that I need to press it easier because it gives a sufficiently saturated tone, a sufficiently dark, saturated tone. As for the sticks, I just shaded them to begin with. Here with the sticks just the same, you can do this, monotonously shaded with a pencil B, and then with the same B, I amplified somewhere. Where my light falls right here, you can see right. The light falls from above on the right, the shadows lie, because to the left side, then immediately only by the shadows. You can tell how the light falls. It's the same with chopsticks. They were shaded and then darkened on the left side. And I take a nag. The last touches first work with a nag, a little highlighting the lightest parts. Here are the brightest parts. I roll a sausage out of a nag, and then I highlight them. And in the end, I'll take an eraser, and with an eraser I'll whiten the glare with an eraser for another light. These are the pears I got. Thanks for watching.